At DePaco Credit Union, we value your health and happiness as much as your financial well-being. What's your dream? A trip? A new home? Or maybe it's a green electric bass guitar. No matter the goal, we're here to help you create a plan that helps you achieve it. Share your dreams with us, and we'll work with you to turn them into reality. Well-being is the key to a life worth loving. So when you think about yours, remember that DePaco can help you be well.
All things Hawkeyes. Your all-access pass from the sidelines to the postgame. Iowa's News Now Sports presents Eye on the Hawks. Sponsored by DePaco Community Credit Union and Pin Seekers.
Just prepare for this game like it's your last and play your balls off. Try to win.
We, too, try to approach every day with that same kind of enthusiasm and testicular fortitude, I suppose, here on Eye on the Hawks. Thanks for joining us as we look ahead to the non-conference finale for Iowa, coming in 1-1 and hosting what may now be objectively the worst team in college football in 2025, the UMass Minutemen. Mitch Fick, Owen Sebring, Mike Howell here. Erica off mic and off camera, much to her liking, carrying us through this Wednesday episode, looking ahead to Saturday night's showdown at Kinnick Stadium. Lots to get to, including our picks for the week, a Hawkeye highlight with one of the captains and one of the most familiar faces on the Hawkeye roster. Of course, looking at the defense as well, continuing its tradition of excellence. Next tight end in, the latest injury bug biting the Hawks. But we'll start teeing it up with Pin Seekers as we look once again, as we've led, I think, every podcast this season with, the pass game and Mark Gronowski. 2 games in, second to last in the country in passing. What are we thinking as before we hear from Mark and Kirk about what the pass game will maybe show this weekend at Kinnick Stadium?
I don't have any reason to expect anything other than what we saw against Albany, frankly. I bet we'll still see Mark throw probably 15 to 20 passes. I think that I know we said the same thing 2 weeks ago, but I think that has a chance to be a significant blowout. So if it is, I think that we could only see Mark for a couple quarters, maybe 2.5, and doesn't really show much.
Yeah, I don't think much of a change either, but here's what I want to see. 0 rushes from Mark. I think there's no need to put his body at risk there. And, I think you need to work out the passing game. I said it on Sunday, and this is the perfect team to do it, especially if you're going to miss some of those players that supposedly are questionable for the game. So why not just come out throwing,
Mark Gronowski on his mindset going into this past weekend and moving forward, and, of course, Kirk Ferentz with his analysis of how things are through 2 games.
There wasn't any techniques. I mean, usually every week in the season, I usually have a visualization kind of routine that I do the night before games to try and just kind of calm myself down before I go to sleep and kind of be able to see the game in my head. But this week, I kind of thought about how I felt as a kid, playing Pop Warner football and playing in the backyard with my buddies back home when I was younger, and just kind of trying to go out there and play like I was a kid back then and playing in the backyard football and just really go out there and have fun. And I think that really kind of put me in a great mindset of being able to play loose and play fast out there. So I felt a lot calmer, felt a lot looser while I was out there playing this weekend, and I felt like that showed. And we're going to continue to get better and continue to progress on that throughout the season.
Thought we made some improvements on Saturday. We grew from week 1 in the passing game. It was not good the week 1. We talked about that a week ago. So, we'll just keep pushing forward and continue to grow. And two things going on there. I think, our players get more comfortable as we move forward. Then also we learn more. It's one key takeaway, I think, anytime you look early in the season as a staff, if we're not learning about the current group of players that we have. And you learn through camp, you learn every day. You learn, going back to January. But getting in game competition, you learn a little bit more about what's good and what's not so good. And it's a process, and it's been that way as long as I've been coaching. So that's kind of what we're going through right now.
So you saw in one graphic, if you're watching on the YouTube channel here on this Wednesday, that Iowa's averaging just under 121 passing yards per game since the start of the 2023 season. We'll bring up another one here. Iowa has not hit 100 yards in 5 of their last 7 games as a team. 100 passing yards, that is. Can you guys, off the top of your heads, name those 2 games that they did exceed and get into triple digits?
Last 7 games, so that'd probably take Washington now. That's further back than, I'll say, Northwestern?
Nope.
Well, that was before Washington. Or I can't remember. Maryland,
Nebraska?
Right?
Nebraska because
of Caleb Johnson.
Oh,
Jackson
that
Stratton
was
had a
a-
75-yard screen
Yes.
pass. The other one was
Missouri?
UCLA. Remember, Jacob Gill had a massive first quarter there. I think he had a 59-yard completion. And speak of the devil, there he is. As we look at some of the highlights from the passing game and how it's evolving. And of course, Mark's quite the runner as well, as Mike alluded to and Owen alluded to. And I believe Gill had another 32-yarder as well against UCLA really early. But those are the two games in the last 7 where Iowa's passed for over 100 yards. Everything else has been under.
That one I don't remember much because we were out shooting high school football.
It was Friday night.
Friday night.
Yes.
We were busy that night.
Yep. So those are the two instances. And again, since the start of the 2023 season, Iowa not even averaging 121 yards passing. Some of you, both already kind of put some numbers on things. I guess Mike really didn't. But is there a number in any way, shape, or form related to any sort of passing metric that you want to see Saturday?
I want to see, I think, would you say 15 to 20 passes, or did you even say less than that?
I mean, that's
10
so
to
he
15?
threw 15 against Albany.
Yeah.
I have to think that it would probably be in the same neighborhood. I'd probably, if I were guessing, I would say not more than 25.
In an ideal world, I'd want him to see at least 20, 25 throws just to work everything out and over 200. But I think realistically, just double the amount of passing yards you have now, right? And that's only 127, right?
Yeah.
So throw for 130, $130. And then will I even be excited? Probably not.
Well,
I know the running game's good, so.
Like we talked about Sunday, just this isn't the game that is the true measure. Obviously, Rutgers and Indiana are, but yeah, if you put up numbers against UMass, congratulations, it was UMass. Will be the sentiment from the fan base. If you don't, how did you not put up numbers? It's UMass, so it's a tough spot to be in. But just watching the game, things did look better. The only number I guess I care about is one. Hit one big play. This the thing that's escaped you this whole time. You've been close on a couple with, whether it's Seth not getting an opportunity because of a PI or missing Gill on the one in the opening game and the start of the third drive. If you hit one big play, I think that's the exhale from Kinnick could send some field goals, sending either wide left or wide right. I think it would just be okay, there's one big play. And, again, you're talking about a team that we'll hear from Zach Ortworth here later in the show. He's got your most explosive pass plays up there with Jacob Gill in the last 3 seasons. He's the guy that has 2 50-plus yard receptions. I think you need one from a receiver again, maybe for a score, to make people feel. You can throw for $140 or 113. If you just hit one big one, I think people will feel a little okay that we got our one.
What do you consider a big play in this scenario?
50-plus.
50-plus?
I don't know if there's a uber explosive, if that's what you call it, if an explosive is 25-plus.
I think Tim Lester was asked this a year ago. What he considers is, and it's a rush from over 10 yards, an explosive play.
Yeah.
And a pass for over 20 yards,
20
I believe,
yards.
or 25, one of those.
I think we calculated that a couple times too. And I shouldn't even put a number on that. Just,
those stats, though, I looked them up.
Seth Decade at Utah State. That felt big.
Yeah.
So maybe just the explosive length.
I think you know it when you see it. But with those in mind,
the court burden of proof,
Iowa has 14 plays over 10 yards. That's 128th in the country. And UMass actually has almost double that at 29. But, they play different teams.
Boy. Oh, boy.
And over 20 yards, Iowa only has 3. And that's 129th. So I think if you have that narrow of a definition, then, I expect to see a lot of. But a 50-plus, I agree with you. One would be great.
Mm-hmm. I remember here, I was talking to Zach Takis, our colleague here at Broadcast Park, and he reminded me, and do you guys remember, it was the second game of the 2020 season, first or second game, played Northwestern. They were up early. Spencer Petras threw 50 passes. Iowa ended up losing that game. People lost their minds that, well, why is Brian Ferentz using this game to throw 50 passes with Spencer Petras? What's he trying to figure out? So I think the crowd.
Context though in that game, they were up.
For sure.
So why didn't you run the ball out? And I think at this point,
and you've got that same argument going back to Iowa State last year too. Is why is Cade throwing 20?
Which is fair, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's So I've heard a few folks share your sentiment, Mike, of just throw it 40 to 50 times, just figure it out.
it's less about this game and more about, like, you're going to need it
Yeah.
against Oregon and Penn State, or it's going to be like a 30 to, like the last time you played, or not the last time.
It's tough to see it happening this Saturday if it didn't happen 2 Saturdays ago against the Great Danes. It's
That's
just,
true.
yeah, expect the unexpected, I suppose. So maybe.
Been watching Big Brother? That's their motto.
Is it expect the unexpected, or I feel like
Or
I am
expect the expected,
expecting
yeah.
the expected.
Oh,
which
100%.
is, yeah,
I think we're
like-
talking about wishes and stuff. I expect them
Yeah.
to. He said yesterday, Kirk did it as presser. He wants to be balanced, and I know they were not balanced against Albany, and I haven't looked at Iowa State, but I doubt that they were.
I think there were
balance there.
probably 30-some pass plays called, which probably evens it out a little more. Mark ran a couple times that weren't designed quarterback runs. So, talk ad nauseum about what kind of defense Iowa State played and opportunities for the wide receivers, what that group looks like. Maybe we've underestimated grossly what losing Reese Vanderzee has done to that whole core, and now you lose Addison Ostrenga. As we turn to that, thank you to Pin Seekers for sponsoring our Teed Up section there as we start this podcast. But it is next tight end in, Addison Ostrenga, confirmed by Coach Ferentz. Left Achilles injury. He had surgery Monday. He is done for the year. We're thinking of Addison. Just a great dude. Hope he's recovery goes as well as possible. He has a red shirt. Maybe we'll see him again in 2026. But Zach Ortworth, who a lot of folks thought could really have a big jump this season, he steps in at tight end 1. Heard from him about his role, and a little bit from DJ Vanami from Kirk Ferentz, talking about the guy who's starting to settle in and maybe has a bigger role after his first career catching Ames.
Good, it's just another opportunity. Me, DJ, Large, all just, working, trying to get better. Back on the practice field this week felt good. Focusing on a new opponent, we're all just trying to get better at the little things. I had a long ways to go. It just felt good getting reps back out there. And yeah.
How tough was it to see Addison go down?
Yeah, it sucks. He's a good teammate, good leader, and I know he'll always be there.
And then DJ's a guy that we've just seen take step after step after step. He's a converted player. He's now playing tight end. That's what we projected him as. And, the one question, especially, he's a former quarterback, is he going to block? How will he block? He's done a really good job there, and he's changed his body on top of it. So, he's a guy we really feel good about. And now, due to injury, he's going to be pressed into further. His role would grow a little bit, and that's good. That's fine. He'll handle it well. He's done a really nice job.
So here's a look at the graphic again, and look at Addison Ostrenga's the play he was injured on. Iowa tight ends this season, 5 catches, 32 yards. One of those from Ostrenga, so you are left with 4 catches by your entire tight end core, a far cry from what maybe Hawkeye fans are used to out of that room, but with a couple pass catchers out, guys like Hayden Large maybe get a little more looks. Maybe DJ. Thomas Meyer was brought up yesterday as a guy who traveled to Ames. Maybe the Clear Lake product could be out there as well. How are we feeling about Ortworth's chances? You're seeing some stuff from last year, and you saw the graphic. 14 career catches, almost 200 career yards. You had the 35-yarder against Illinois State in the opener last year. You're watching the 52-yarder against Wisconsin in 2024, and then he jumped onto the scene with a 54-yard grab against Rutgers in 2023. So he has big playability. It's just everything else has been very short. So how do we feel about the tight end room, their role in the pass game, and what this throw game can look like with a beat-up Addison Ostrenga, Reese Vanderzee still in a boot in Ames? How much is that going to impact what Mark Gronowski and anybody who's under center can do?
Well, you mentioned some of the names, and we like a lot of the names that are out there. Of course, Zach Ortworth and Hayden Large are reliable tight ends, you think. DJ Vanami, young guy. Thomas Meyer, young guy. We've mentioned the names. Michael Burt's a younger guy that we've talked about too, but there just has not been the production out of tight end the last few years as we were used to seeing historically at Iowa. Over the last year and this year, we've still only seen 1 tight end touchdown, I believe. Is that right?
That was Ostrenga from a shovel pass via Brendan Sullivan against Troy last year, this same week last year.
Yeah, that's true. And so we like a lot of these guys. We like the names, and they've provided some catches here and there, but are they going to actually make an impact? That seems to be the question that has needed to come up the last couple of years, is like, we like a lot of these tight ends, but what are they going to actually do with the offense? Because it has not been much these last 2 seasons.
Yeah, I feel good about their matchup this week, but outside of that, it's a big unknown for me. I came into the season really liking Zach Ortworth, and he doesn't have a lot of targets. It'd be under 5, right?
I don't think he has a lot of snaps.
Yeah. and one drop last week, I believe, when Mark was trying to make something happen in the backfield. But I just don't know long term. I need to see it. The playmaking ability. We've seen those long runs from Zach. I got to think a lot of that's due to the defense always creeping up too with Iowa's rushing game. So I think it's going to be an excellent week though to get them more involved in the passing game as well, if that's the route that Kirk and company want to go.
Yeah, Large has 2 catches. Estranga had 1. Ortworth has 1. Vanami has 1. That's the catches for tight ends for the 2 games.
Per Chad Leisco crunched the numbers on this yesterday. Zach Ortworth has been outpaced by Vanami in snaps this year, 50-33.
Wow, okay.
So we'll see how that evolves. Right now, Jacob Gill leads in receptions, obviously. Is he, in your guys' mind, the number 1 target in the pass game? And who do you think can challenge for more receptions? Because I think right now it is Hayden with 2 catches. Is he the second leading receiver? Or somebody
Seth Anderson has 3.
Seth's got 3, yeah. Yes. There you go.
I have to think so, especially after the way he performed against Iowa State. Jacob
great.
Gill really looked good against Iowa State, and so I think that is going to provide some comfortability for Mark Gronowski going forward, that he finally sees what Jacob Gill is capable out there. He starts starting more. We saw a little bit more targeted towards Sam Phillips as well, so I think that he could be the number 2 guy that Mark's targeting out there, but I think that Jacob Gill, again, is providing the safety net that used to be the tight end, but now Jacob Gill seems to be the guy. Maybe the wide receivers are the guy that provide the safety net for Iowa quarterbacks.
Yeah, I really came into the season thinking Gill would be a really, really great second or third receiver, and I think I was hoping that Reese would be first. Obviously, he's gone, and that Seth or Sam, one of those 2, would be kind of like a deep, speedy threat downfield, which we haven't seen. I'm hoping that one of those 2 guys, Seth or Sam. I just think Tim has to get them the ball early and often. Like if it's just a swing pass over, to Sam or Seth, just get them the ball, get the familiarity between Mark and them, like give them more reps and stuff like that. That's what I'm hoping to see this week, and that's I think if you have a weak opponent, you should do it. But at this point, it is Gill, right? I mean, he's reliable outside of the 1 drop last week, but he's your leading rusher for the past year or so. So, I mean, I've been encouraged what I've seen from him so far.
The hope for me is that, again, talked on Sunday, there were 2 screen passes to wide receivers. One, TJ got blown up, lost 6 yards, and then Xavier lost a couple on another. It feels like defenses really have those figured out, at least, and maybe I'm just going off memory and I don't have the stats in front of me, but let's keep throws over the line of scrimmage, which sounds pretty basic, but we're talking about Iowa's pass game. Let's get rid of the screens. Maybe some of the stuff you're talking about to wide receivers.
I mean, it can work. I don't know about this offense. I mean, that play you're talking about, Hayden missed the block,
Did he?
And it could have sprung it. Yeah.
Yep. So there's that too. And I know.
But you got a point though. Like if you're going to do that and it get blown up,
I'm still picturing the float out to TJ that got broken up against Albany, the one that Cohen picked off on Kids Day. It just feels like the screen game maybe isn't there. You got a guy who can sling it a little bit. Let him do what he does. And there was some talk about that during the presser. If you go watch Kirk's full presser, just about leaning into what Mark can do best and adjusting to his game and what he has brought to the table for 50-plus starts now. And Owen, I know you were beating yourself up about taking Reese Vanderzee as your MVP. Maybe the proof is already in the pudding.
Yeah, truly.
Maybe Iowa's most valuable player, at least in the throw game early, is the guy in the boot on the sideline. And we'll see if he's got the boot on Saturday or if he's moved forward. We told you Kamari Moulton, no sling on Saturday. Maybe he's a little closer to getting back than Reese Vanderzee. But we thought maybe at some point in the offseason, the offense might be carrying the defense here for a little bit in the early going. Nope, Phil Parker's squad still doing their thing. The number 12 total defense in the country after those games against Albany and Iowa State only gave up 238 yards to the Cyclones, one explosive play. Still waiting for turnovers, though, but TJ Hall, a masterful Saturday there at Jack Trice. 3 pass breakups. We heard from him after the game. We heard from him again on Tuesday just about the corner he's turned, and Kirk Ferentz also sharing his thoughts on what the defense has done through 8 quarters.
I mean, I think it's just understanding really the game of football and understanding your keys, understanding that, you got to be perfect and mental focus on each play, having your good feet work. good mental preparation, knowing what the offense likes to do, when they like to take their shots. So I just feel like I did a better job of actually understanding the game of football rather than just going out there and just playing off of this field.
How much of a test do you feel like it was on Saturday, playing against a quarterback like Rocco, but also some of those big receivers from Iowa State?
No, I definitely think it was one of the best tests of the year so far. I mean, they were an explosive offense. Rocco is a great quarterback. They always have great receivers. So I knew I had to be focused on each play, and I knew I couldn't slip up at all.
You know, they're off to a good start that way, and points are the most important stat defensively. You know, sometimes getting off the field a little quicker would be a good thing, you know, and give the offense. And that was a big part of the second half the other day. Anytime you want to get off the field as fast as you can and give the offense another possession if possible. But I think overall, you know, we're on a good track right now.
So through 2 games, Iowa only giving up 207.5 yards per game. By the way, Owen had a fantastic day shooting PBUs. You had I always enjoy seeing. So we have 2 different cameras. Owen and I do little inside baseball here. So his zoom's a lot better than mine. And today, or on Saturday, I should say, the zoom was not the only thing working well. Like you were right on top of every play. It was a ton of fun to see. Having said that, Iowa's still waiting for its first interception of the year. Had a couple forced fumbles one forced fumble against Iowa State, had one against Albany that Aaron Graves was sure trying to show that he had the ball before the quarterback was down on a sack right there. But no turnovers. Lots of talk about the lack of sacks too. Just 2 through 2 games, both there against the Great Danes. Is there a number that you're looking for, guys, on the defensive side on Saturday against the Minutemen as you get ready for a very short week ahead of Rutgers?
I forget what the exact number is that I would be looking for here, but I think that in terms of the streak of pick sixes that Iowa has coming into this year, I think
16 or 17 years in a row, right?
Something to that effect, yeah. Second longest in the country. I think that is a streak that you would like to continue and get that out of the way against UMass. You want it to happen against your worst opponent, and so I would like to see
stats a little bit.
Yeah, I would like to see that number 17, whatever that might be, happen. But I guess I'd go back to what I said against Albany, which I think was like 3. I would like to see 3 turnovers, but I just wonder if if UMass is going to make the same adjustments that Albany did, where they are throwing quick passes and not giving Iowa many chances for a forced fumble, getting sacks in the backfield, throwing interceptions. We might see the same kind of thing, which could lead to, again, only 0 to 1 turnover. So I guess I would say I'd be pleased with the defense if they force 2 turnovers.
Yeah, any turnovers, I guess I would be. But I think 2 is the perfect spot. But if you pair that with, what's your sack total? Like 4? You want 4 against a team that's rated lower than Albany on the Sadgerin ratings.
They got a little mobility at quarterback, though. The backup can move a little bit.
Yeah. So interceptions or fumbles, though. I mean, Jaden punched one out last week. Didn't get just the bounce, went straight to the Iowa State offensive lineman. If you can get 2 turnovers and 4 sacks, I think it'd be a good game. Let me ask you this, though, on the defensive side. With, obviously we're talking about how weak this opponent is, and in the game of football anything can happen, but if it comes to be the case where Iowa just outclasses UMass everywhere, heck, they lost to an FCS team last week, when do you start sitting players? Not just to sit them, but to get maybe a cornerback, some playing time, or Epinesa in the defensive lineman.
Yeah, Jay Neiman was asked about Jose Epinesa today on the Zoom call we get on Wednesdays. We get an assistant, and he was asked just about his plan because he hasn't been out there yet, and wasn't one of the. McNeil was the only true freshman that Kurt gave the green light to ahead of Albany. He said, it's kind of on Jose too of how much he plays his freshman year, right? Like, is he going to step up? In 2017, they needed D linemen, they need defensive ends. So here comes AJ coming in, and the rest is history there. Obviously, they're pretty well set on the defensive line, but Coach Neiman said, hey, when he's ready to be out there, we'll play him as much as possible. So didn't give a cap on any sort of 4-game red shirt, anything like that. It would be great to see him. Would great to see Shaheed Barrows, who's the guy on the game announcement social media post today. Maybe he gets a little more run as well. I don't know when you start benching. Again, such a tough time to say when you start doing it. I guess when you feel like the game's in hand, right?
Yeah,
it when you see it.
I wouldn't be surprised to see some of the young guys mixed in there. I mean, from the very first drive, that we see those guys getting some rotational play in there. I mean, first drive could be 3 and out, so maybe they'll just be starters. But I think the younger guys will be getting mixed in the entire game. In terms of guys getting sat, yeah, I could see that happening at halftime, whether it's Gronowski or not. I guess the question would be, I'd be kind of curious what you think. What is the lead that Iowa would need to have to sit the guys? Like if they're ahead 24-0 at halftime, do you think that that's adequate space to sit Gronowski and Aaron Graves and TJ Hall and so forth?
I think it'd probably have to be one more score, but 4 scores, against this defense would be super hard. The only reason I'm not saying like, I just am worried about like second half injuries. Like what if you lost TJ Hall when Barrows or Godfrey or any other
Watson,
Watson's name was escaping me, could get like some quality playing time. And they have gotten on the field some this season, but a full half is different than just getting in for the last drive. So that's the reason I asked, and it would be nice to see some of that in the second half. But I think 24, 28 points would be enough.
Yeah, it all depends on what time the game is or what time you're at in the game and everything like that. If you feel like you've done what you need to, I suppose. So another thing to watch on Saturday. By the way, speaking of streaks, I think Chad had this stat too. It's the first time Iowa's gone 4 straight games without an interception since 2014.
I saw that.
Damn,
It's a lot. Chad is as good as it gets.
He is good. I did look up one stat. It's not that good, but can you guess how many teams in college football right now do not have a pick, an interception? It's kind of a weird stat.
FBS?
Yeah, FBS.
4.
Yeah, I'd say not. It's probably not a huge number. I would say, I'd say like 13.
Wow, I thought you guys would go higher, but 17.
Okay.
So I was one of 17, tied for last.
4 is wild. That was a wild guess by me.
Well, I mean, it is.
Ball hawks all over the place.
All the Power 4 teams are playing lesser opponents, so you're probably going to assume that they're all going to have an interception out of the way. Same with a lot of the Group of 5 teams are playing FCS schools, so most are going to have something by now.
Former Hawkeye John Nestor picked 6 in the very first play against Northwestern State.
He was like the highest rated player on PFF, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah. Pick 6. That'll
Yeah,
do it for your PFF. Yeah. Well, one guy who has an interception, 2023 against Nebraska, excuse me, Ethan Herkett, Cedar Rapids Xavier alum, committed in February of 2019, 5 months before Jay Neiman joined the staff at Iowa as an assistant defensive line coach, so he knows Ethan very well. The captain, haven't really had a whole lot of time to talk to him. He's not a man of many words, so Jay Neiman helping here as Ethan Herkett this week is our Hawkeye highlight.
When did you find out you were a captain?
That was, I guess, on the Monday of, the first game week. Each Monday is a new kind of vote or captain vote, and so that's when I found out.
What did that mean?
It meant a lot. Being a captain here is a huge honor, obviously, because it's voted upon by your peers, and so that meant the world to me.
What's the voting process like? Is it just like Survivor style, like handing in slips of paper? Is there like people write down names, or how's that work?
It's basically just like a sheet that you vote on. It's the leadership council guys that get a vote on that, and you just get like 4 slots to basically write down those names.
Were you expecting to be a captain? You got the media days invite and things like that, but were you thinking about it at all?
I wouldn't say expecting to be. Obviously, like that's something I've always kind of dreamed about being, but I wasn't expecting to be a captain necessarily.
Were there a lot of phone calls after? I know Quinn didn't tell his dad and was just like, oh yeah, by the way, like.
I got a call from Joe Evans just telling me congratulations and stuff, which is pretty sick. Just because he's been a captain in the past, so he knows kind of what that takes and what that means. So that was pretty cool.
Did you call the folks though? Let them know?
I did, yeah. They were very excited about it too.
Cool. Awesome.
Do you feel like you have to be a more vocal leader when you're a captain?
I think so. I think that leadership can kind of come down to a couple of things though. Like you can lead by just the way that you go about things, and I've kind of tried to do that in the past, but definitely this year I'm trying to be more vocal, like you said.
He was a middle linebacker, I think, if I remember correctly. But anyway, he was playing off the ball, that's for sure. But I looked at his high school huddle and just remember him running around and just being physical and tackling people and making plays all over the field. And really, that's kind of the personality he had and still has. He plays with that kind of effort here. He practices with that kind of effort here. He's extremely coachable guy, great leader, well respected, highly productive. when you stop and think about the kind of guys that you want to recruit and have represent your program, for me, he's right up there at the top of the list. Really a pleasure to coach him.
He'll be his 45th career game against UMass. Ethan Herkett, our Hawkeye highlight. And again, man of not many words, married now, one of the 3 Hawkeyes to get married over the summer. So congrats to him and Megan. And yeah, been fun to watch that growth. Just a little behind the scenes. The water's up here now. The cough I let out after tossing to that might have measured on the Richter scale. I don't know what was going on. Had a little dry mouth there before the Hawkeye highlight. Brought to you by hydration of any kind, any way, shape, or form. All right. A lot of talk coming into this weekend about getting back to Kinnick, and it ain't fall anymore. It was real nice going to Ames. It was 40 degrees out. Got a little warmer out there, but 90-degree high forecasted by our Weather First team this week as summer keeps hanging on. Thankfully, it's a night game. Grayson Freund, pinch hitting, next met in, so to speak, for Rebecca Kolpman, breaks down our Weather First forecast for Saturday night.
Hey everybody, we've got the big Hawkeye versus UMass game coming up this Saturday, and the weather is looking pretty nice. Rain chances are little to none at the moment, but it's going to be a hot one. If you're doing any tailgating before the game, dress accordingly. It's going to be sunny and temperatures will likely be around 90 degrees, and it's going to be pretty humid too. Then by kickoff around 6:30, still hot and sticky out. Temperatures will be dropping off into the low to mid 80s as we head throughout the game. So no jackets needed for this game, but instead make sure you've got a hat, sunglasses, sunscreen, so you can keep yourself safe out in that heat. So of course, enjoy the game and go Hawks.
Everybody just missed Mike regaling us with a lovely hit from the early 2000s.
Man, it's a hot one.
And now we have to pay royalties to Carlos and Rob. Thank you, Mike. Yeah, it's going to be a far cry from where we were. It's going to feel like the game to lead the 2023 season, that Utah State game, where it was like 91 for kick. But that was in the middle of the day, or earlier in the day. This one going to be 6 o'clock at night, so we're just hoping to maybe get in the 70s by the time this thing ends, by the time the sun goes down. All right.
I was about to question that. You might need a jacket if it's like 10:30, right?
Yeah, we'll see.
Question our meteorologist.
When the lights go out at Kinnick, we've been there a few times where there's no lights on. That's an eerie feeling when you're in Kinnick still working and there are no lights on in a stadium with 70,000 people. Let's turn to our picks this week. You know, we had this great idea we were telling you about where we're going to do the previous opponent, the next opponent, and then a game of the week along with the Hawks. Non-con, it makes it tough because everyone's playing teams that don't have spreads, so we've kind of jumped around a little bit. Luckily, Iowa State, previous opponent, does play an FBS opponent, so we do have a pick to make there. As the Cyclones 3-0 head to Arkansas State as a 21.5-point favorite. That game kicks off 3 p.m. on ESPN2.
I had kind of doubted Iowa State's ability to cover when they played South Dakota. I thought South Dakota was maybe something that they aren't, and I didn't think that Iowa State's offense could light it up as much as they did against the Coyotes. So I guess I'll do a turnaround here and pick Iowa State to cover those 21.5 points.
Yeah, I'll do the same. You know, could there be a letdown after the Cyhawk game for Iowa State? Could, they got a bye week after this and they start Big 12 play with Arizona? I don't think so. I think Matt Campbell instills into his team that, like he said a few weeks ago, he said this is a really talented Arkansas State team. I'm not so sure. They lost Arkansas last week by a lot of points.
Matt Campbell said they're a talented opponent that they're playing?
I know.
Go on.
So I think the Cyclones will come out and cover.
Arkansas State is the 129th ranked total defense in the country. So yeah, there's that. They give up 40 points a game. I know they got boat raced by the backs the other day. I'll take Iowa State to cover as well. I think I think Iowa's defense did a heck of a job against an offense that is pretty darn good, particularly with Rocco in the passing game. Burkle, bounce or no bounce. That group of tight ends, him and Bramer, are pretty fantastic.
Sidebar, the governor of Arkansas wants to, and I don't know if you saw this, she wants to have Arkansas State play Arkansas in rivalry week every year, which would be just an awful game. In Little Rock, too. I just saw this article when I was searching. I'm like, that sounds like a bad idea.
That is an idea.
They play Missouri currently every year.
Certainly an idea.
Well, there you go. Then we go to the West Coast. Minnesota, undefeated as well, 2-0. 1.5-point favorites on the road at Cal. This is a 9:30 p.m. kick on ESPN. The Gophers go to 3-0.
Mike, what are you thinking?
So this true freshman quarterback, who I'm not going to try to pronounce the name of, is pretty good.
Oh, for Cal?
For Cal, yeah.
I was like, Minnesota's Drake Lindsay.
Yeah, no.
Sagapolutulele.
I think you just call him JKS.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's pretty good. They blew out Oregon State, who actually is not very good. Week 1, they played, I think, an FCS team last year, one of those teams, or last week, I should say. Minnesota's defense, though, is going to be way better than he's ever seen. And I couldn't believe this when I was looking it up. Under P.J. Fleck, Minnesota is 4-0 on the West Coast. Yeah. So I'm going to pick Minnesota to cover. Seems like a sneaky line. Whoops, I wrote Mitch's name. Seems like a sneaky line that they want you to pick Minnesota for, but...
And he's taking the bait.
Yeah, I know,
but
right?
I'm going to do exactly
this line
that.
Started at 4, too. So a lot of people are picking Cal. I think because this true freshman hype quarterback, and they haven't seen a defense like Minnesota, so I'm going to say that he gets, they get stopped this week.
It's hard to know what either of these teams are. Cal does have a win over Oregon State by 19. Then they beat Texas Southern last week. None of these games have been terribly impressive on either end. But I don't know. I guess I'll go with the same and say Minnesota's going to take this one.
All right, we're going to match up for 2 then. I like that Minnesota also talk about getting to rest a lot of your starters. And they didn't play a full game. Anybody.
Yeah.
The weather, they had to cut it, but they were up 35-0 after the first quarter. You get to play a late game on that Saturday, so you get a little extra rest. It's the antithesis of what Iowa gets next week, playing a night game this Saturday and then turn around and playing Friday night at Rutgers. So they get the road trip to the West, a late kick, all that stuff. So I'll take the Gophers to cover as well. That's a solid defense, and again, Darius Taylor just keeps hanging around and keeps doing big things for the Gophers.
The only thing I can think of is it's a late start, so I wonder if Minnesota's not
throw you off, yeah, a little bit, but you get a little more time to prep.
For sure.
Maybe the game of the week in the entire country, and I think this will be a fun one. Number 6 Georgia, 3.5-point favorites on the road, going to Knoxville, taking on 15th ranked Tennessee. 2:30 kick on ABC.
Yeah, Joey Aguilar looks like he could be the real deal for Tennessee. Once again, we don't really know what to expect out of either opponent. Tennessee just beat the crap out of the fighting Cade McNamara's last week, so I think I do like Tennessee maybe to pull the upset against Georgia.
Rocky Top, huh? Mm-hmm. We're different here, though. I look at Tennessee, and I think they got a little bit too much credit for a win over Syracuse, who struggled to beat UConn, had to come back last week.
Had to run wind sprints after that game.
Yeah, that was wild. I'm not a huge believer in Gunnar Stockton for Georgia, but I think the receivers are a lot better. Zachariah Branch from USC.
Better, yeah.
They do actually have some injury concerns, though. I think Tennessee has both their starting corners out, or at least their expected corners, and then Georgia might have a couple of linemen out. But I think the Dogs are going to eat in Rocky Top.
Yeah, I'm going to take.
They do both have dog mascots.
There you go. Yeah, that's tough.
Oh, that's right.
That's tough.
All right. The Bulldogs.
That's tough. There you go. I'll take Georgia to cover too. This might be one of those. By the way, we're still Georgia games. I don't know if it'll be like a 21-point win, but I think this could be a decisive win for Kirby Smart and company. And then we turn back to Iowa in Iowa City. UMass coming to town. 6:30 kick on BTN. Iowa is a 35.5-point favorite. Do you dare do it again like you did against Albany?
I want to give a little bit of data on UMass before we get started, because if you guys follow Ryan McGee, he's been writing about UMass for a long time. He writes weekly the bottom 10, the worst college football teams each week. This week, UMass is ranked number 1 in his bottom 10 for the worst team in college football. Their loss to Bryant. Bryant was picked 13th in their conference in the FCS to start the season, just to give an idea of how bad the team was that they just lost to. They had a 20-3 lead late in the first half, UMass did, and then ended up losing on a walk-off field goal. They're a team that used to play in the FCS, won an FCS national championship in '98. Kind of a strange local tie. They lost to App State in the national championship the year after you and I lost to App State in the national championship game in '06, but made that jump to FBS football, and it has not gone well for our friends, the Minutemen. Maybe one of the best mascots in college football, I will say. Love the fact that they're the Minutemen, great mascot, but it has not been a smooth transition. This is what I always tell people. they are the warning for a school like UNI, who for some years talked about possibly, do we want to move to the FBS? This is a team that you look to like, maybe we're happy with where we're at. Few foreigners on the team. They have 2 Australian punters on the UMass roster, 1 Finnish O-lineman, and 1 German tight end. I love the international connections on this team. But I think, gosh, I just always put too much hope in Iowa to cover these games, but it's just too hard to pick against them in something like this against such a crappy opponent. So I guess I'll have to take Iowa again.
I told myself 2 weeks ago I would never fall for a spread like plus 30 points. But I'm going to fall for it again because I think UMass is truly the worst team in FBS. I mean, there's a lot of teams in FCS that are quite frankly better than them.
Oh, yeah.
And unless they play with their food too much, which I've been clamoring for, I just don't think will happen. I don't see how they don't score like 45 or 50 points.
Yeah. I mean, just again, we talked about the backups getting into this game. How could the backup running backs not just run all over this team? How could the third-string quarterback not throw to the fourth-string tight ends all over the UMass defense?
Fellas, I want to tell you about a game, homecoming for the University of Massachusetts in 1976. Played UConn. And a young man, a captain for the Huskies, was named Defensive Player of the Week. 12 tackles, 2 fumble recoveries, ruined homecoming. One of just 2 wins for UConn in that season in 1976. And that young man, who's told me 50 years later there were no star linebackers at UConn when he was there, was Kirk John Ferentz. He's 3-1 lifetime as a player against UMass. And I believe that rivalry will continue to bubble and fester and lead to Iowa covering against the Minutemen.
For his 206th career win.
For his 200, yeah. By the way,
All coming full
Kirk's
circle.
become the winningest coach in the history of the Big Ten Conference. And Mark Gronowski with his win will hit 51. That will tie him with the late great Cullen Finnerty with the most wins by a quarterback across all divisions in NCAA football, which should be the main storyline, will be the main storyline Saturday night. Kirk passing Woody Hayes. It feels like in the aftermath of Iowa State, though, it's just kind of been like, oh, and it's going to come against UMass.
It would have meant so much to every Hawkeye fan to get that win for Kirk at Iowa State and get him over that hump, but they get to do it at least in front of their home fans, which is something special too.
And 49 years after he ruined their homecoming.
Oh, do you think they've forgotten? Do you think UMass forgot about that homecoming? I don't think so.
The whole pregame speech is like, you really want 76 again? You really want that to happen? He was the ECAC Division II Defensive Player of the Week. So there you go.
So long ago they call it Division II. I guess they're still Division II.
It was, well, and looking up the ECAC, I believe it was like an amalgamation of a bunch of schools that were like, it was basically a super conference that had little conferences in it, from what I recall. In looking this up on Media Day a month and a half ago. But that's what's going on there. So Kirk Ferentz in line for a historic weekend against a team that he's got a lot of history with, even though Iowa and UMass have never played in football. So that is our pod for this Wednesday. We'll be back here Sunday recapping everything, and again, it'll be a short week looking ahead to Rutgers. You can follow Eye on the Hawks on Twitter/X. You can also watch us on the Iowa's News Now YouTube channel. That's where our Tuesday interviews with players, full interviews, go up there, as well as any other conversations we might have throughout the year with anybody else who might be making it on the pod. And of course, wherever you listen to podcasts, if you don't have time to watch the video version, just go to your favorite podcasting app and search Eye on the Hawks. Final thoughts before we wrap things up this Wednesday.
It's been talked about a lot, but I really am peeved that this game's starting at 6:30, 6:40. It smells like an 11 o'clock game. I know things are different with the TV timeout. I just waiting all day to watch this game that should only be competitive for 5 minutes, in my opinion. It's going to be a long day. Big Ten's kind of crappy this week too. If you look at it, there's only like one meaningful game. Everyone's playing, FCS teams and, bad teams. So
yeah, it continues to amaze me how long it takes for certain teams for us to figure out who they are, figure out their identity. And Iowa's one of those teams where it probably isn't until after the Rutgers game that we'll like really have an idea of like, okay, actually this is who this Iowa team is. Same goes for Iowa State, frankly, again, because the teams they've played. Kansas State is not who we thought they were. South Dakota is not who we thought they were. We are not going to get a good look about Arkansas State either. So even Iowa State, we're not going to know who they are until they start to get into Big 12 play. So it is just going to be interesting to see how things shake out. As much as we talk about these storylines early in the season, we just really don't know anything until we start getting into the meat of these Big Ten schedules.
Yeah, you don't know anything about these teams until you get into the last week of November. Then finally, Game 12, you finally figure it out.
Here's their identity. We knew it all along.
You just got to wait for the evidence. You got to wait for the evidence, folks. And we'll have more evidence of what the 2025 Hawkeyes are on Sunday when we check in again on Eye on the Hawks. For Mike and Owen and Erica behind everything, I'm Mitch. We'll see you on Sunday.
At DePaco Credit Union, we value your health and happiness as much as your financial well-being. What's your dream? A trip? A new home? Or maybe it's a green electric bass guitar. No matter the goal, we're here to help you create a plan that helps you achieve it. Share your dreams with us, and we'll work with you to turn them into reality. Well-being is the key to a life worth loving. So when you think about yours, remember that DePaco can help you be well.